Okay, so in this video, we're gonna see Karoline Leavitt absolutely dismantle the media's panic narrative, calling out Democrats for pretending that saving American cities is somehow a bad thing. Let's view the clip in its entirety, and then I will offer my analysis.
Please.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. The Democrats have questioned and scrutinized the president's comments about using potentially the military, American cities, as training grounds for the military. And when you look at Portland, Chicago, local and state officials say that their local law enforcement is able to handle the situations, these protests on the ground. The president says that Portland is burning, using that as justification for the National Guard in Portland. But when you look here in Washington, D.C., the president just last week said it is now a completely safe city, and there are still National Guard members on the streets that are not involved in ICE activities. Can you provide the justification for the White House here in Washington, D.C., why the National Guard members continue to be out on the streets?
Because Washington, D.C. has invited the National Guard here. Why? Because the mayor is doing the right thing, unlike mayors in other cities like Portland, as Caitlin and others have pointed out, who refuse to see that there are positive results from when local law enforcement works with federal law enforcement to do the right thing on behalf of their citizens. And Washington, D.C. is no doubt a safer city right now today than it was a few months ago when President Trump started this initiative to make D.C. safe again. And the National Guard is still here because the president and the mayor agree that it's a good thing for the city. Just like you're seeing in Memphis, for instance. We'll have National Guard deployed to Memphis. We have federal agents who are on the ground working with state and local law enforcement. The state police in Tennessee are part of this effort. The local metropolitan police in Memphis are part of this effort. State and local law enforcement and federal law enforcement should be working together. And it's a shame that we see in some cities across the country that their mayors are just simply refusing to cooperate because they don't like Donald Trump. And that's what this boils down to. And I don't think any American would disagree that Chicago needs more law enforcement reinforcements, that they need more resources. Look at this headline from over the weekend. At least 30 people shot during the weekend in Democrat-run Chicago. 5 of them were killed in one weekend. This is completely unacceptable, and the president wants to make American cities safer, and he's willing to work with anyone to do it.
If the courts allow you to ultimately send in the National Guard into Chicago and Portland, do Democrats not have reason to be concerned that there are long-term plans by this administration to keep U.S. military or the National Guard in American cities, like what we're seeing here in Washington?
Why should they be concerned about the federal government offering help to make their cities a safer place? They should be concerned about this. They should be concerned about the fact that people in their cities right now are being gunned down every single night. And the president, all he's trying to do is fix it. And there has been a complete smear campaign by the Democrats and the media, quite frankly. I was reading Political Playbook this morning, one of the most inside the Beltway newsletters you can find. And you guys are framing this like the president wants to take over the American cities with the military. The president wants to help these local leaders who have been completely ineffective in securing their own cities. And we have already seen there's a positive formula for that. Look at Washington, D.C. The murder rate has declined significantly. Our streets are safer. People who live here feel safer. All of you in this room, I know you do, you just won't admit it. And it's a proven system that works, and the president wants to make America's cities safe again. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Michael.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions, if I may.
Because the mayor wants them. Michael.
He's talking.
All right, so here's the deal. Every time Republicans actually fix something, the left loses its mind. You could almost set your watch to it. The second results show up, the second things start getting better, Democrats suddenly act like the sky is falling because to them, success under Trump isn't progress. It's a threat to their entire brand of chaos and control. And that's exactly what this moment exposes. The White House lays out clear evidence that crime in D.C. dropped under a cooperative law and order plan. And what do Democrats do? They call it authoritarian. They scream about military takeovers while ordinary Americans finally get to walk their neighborhoods without ducking bullets. That tells you everything. They don't fear soldiers, they fear accountability. It's actually wild to watch. Leavitt's standing there, calm, measured, confident, and you can feel the reporters trying to twist it into a scandal. Why are the National Guard still here? Because, genius, it worked. DC invited them, and crime went down. That's what success looks like. But the press can't say that, because then they'd have to admit Trump was right. And you know what? That's the core of their rage. Every time the Trump model works, whether it's borders, energy, or public safety, it's like pulling the curtain back on their entire act. It proves the Democrats' way doesn't protect anyone. It just protects their image. And when reality doesn't fit the narrative, they go scorched earth to destroy the proof. Leavitt didn't just defend policy, she exposed pride. She basically said out loud what everyone knows: these blue city mayors aren't rejecting help because it's bad policy, they're rejecting it because it's Trump's policy. That's it. They'd rather watch their own cities burn than admit a conservative plan worked better than decades of liberal management. And honestly, that's what's so disgusting about it. 30 people shot in one weekend in Chicago, entire blocks in Portland still recovering from riots. Family scared, businesses gone, and yet the top priority for Democrat leadership is make sure Trump doesn't get credit. It's political narcissism on steroids, but it's also fear. Because if the Trump model spreads, if people see real safety, real prosperity, real law and order, then voters might start asking, wait a second, why haven't Democrats delivered this for decades? And that's the conversation the left can't survive. That's why they have to turn every success story into a controversy. The media's role here is just as bad. They take a positive outcome, safer streets, lower crime, and dress it up as something sinister. They love crisis because crisis keeps you dependent. It keeps people watching, keeps them scared, keeps them voting blue. The last thing they want is peace, because peace under Trump proves their whole panic industry is a fraud. And it's funny because they always claim to care about the people. But if they actually did, they'd be cheering this. They'd be asking how to replicate it in every city. Instead, they're too busy running PR for failed mayors who treat their citizens like collateral damage in a political feud. That's not compassion, that's corruption. So yeah, when Leavitt says DC is safer, that's not spin, that's proof of concept. It's what happens when leadership values results over headlines. And the reason Democrats are melting down is because they know what happens next. People start comparing. DC got safer. Chicago got worse. One listened to Trump's team, the other didn't. Draw your own conclusions. That's the real story here. Competence terrifies the left because once Americans see what effective governance looks like, there's no going back to the excuse machine of Democrat politics. The Trump model didn't fail. It succeeded so well, it broke the illusion. So what's your final take? Let's talk about it in the comments. And if you got some value today, would you consider hitting the like button and subscribing? I appreciate you being here and can't wait for our next one.